Hi guys! So it's the night before my daughter's second birthday and literally the cupcakes are in the oven. It smells delicious at my house and I kind of have everything set up for the party and kind of just laid out, and I have a last minute craft. So I'm going to make a chalkboard sign with you guys today. I am going to be making a chalkboard sign that has removable vinyl on it because while the little saying that I'm going to be putting on the chalkboard is adorable and cute, it's not going to be adorable and cute forever. So what I'm going to be putting on this is "Let's swim and eat cake." So it's really cute for a 2-year-old swimming birthday party, but I love this chalkboard sign and I paid a lot of money for it, so I don't really want it to say "Let's swim and eat cake forever." So I decided to go with some 631 Oracle white matte vinyl. I like the matte look when I do chalkboards. You guys have heard me say this a couple times now. The matte look for chalkboards is beautiful because it makes it look like it's paint once it's all done. So if you would like to make this either permanent or removable, I would highly recommend that you choose a matte finish because it just looks perfect in the end. Other things we're going to use are rubbing alcohol and a cotton swab or a paper towel just to prep the surface, and we'll do that later. Cricut scraping tool, some scissors, and a weeding tool of your choice. I'm going to go ahead and measure this really quick, and we have about 10 1/4 by 6 1/2. And since the edges are scalloped, I'm probably going to size this down in Design Space. That way I can just kind of account for it dipping in a little bit more. In fact, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from the innermost scallop, if that makes sense. So I'm going to measure as if this is an inner rectangle. So I will make it at 6 1/2 by 5. Okay, so I measured from this point to this point and this point to this point. That way I just make sure that my text is all going to fit perfectly and it's not going to bump into any of these scallops that dip in. That way we only have to cut once and we are not wasting any vinyl. Okay, I think that's all I have to tell you about this project. So let's go ahead and jump into Design Space real quick, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to make my text. I'm going to just be using text instead of a design, and then I'm going to show you how to put together curved text because sometimes that can kind of stall people or mess them up. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's get started.
Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space. I went ahead and made the rectangle box, and this is just going to be used as a guide, so I'm not actually going to do anything with this besides use it as a visual guide. So I did size it the 6 1/2 by the 5, and why I did that was how I was demonstrating to you right before this with how I measured the innermost points of that chalkboard where those scallops were at their innermost part, if that makes sense. If not, go ahead and rewind and watch how I measured that. I think that's going to help when you're working with a space that doesn't have a specific shape. I think it'll just help when it's not a perfect square or rectangle or circle, when it's a little bit easier to kind of measure and stay within your guidelines. So what I'm going to do next is I am going to create a text box, and I am going to be using the text Timberly. It's a really pretty script font. Okay, and I am going to say, "Let's swim," and that will be its own text box. Move that up here. And then I'm going to add another text box and say, "And." Isn't that "and" cute? I think it's so cute. Okay, so let's swim and eat cake. Okay, so that is gonna somewhat look like this. Okay, so this is actually a cursive font, but right now it doesn't really look like that, does it? So how we're gonna do that is we are going to click our first line and we're going to come up here to ungroup. Right now it's all one image, and now what we're going to do is hit ungroup, and all the letters are going to be individual so you can move them around. I'm gonna go ahead and hit back so that I can have that lined up. And what we're gonna do is we are just going to, let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. There we go. We are going to just drag those little letters together. Actually, I think I'm gonna let this guy stand alone. Okay, let's swim. So cute. This was a last minute idea. If you guys are ever party planning, I would recommend, we're actually having our party at a destination. Usually we have the parties at home, but we're doing it at a swim place this year. So it was kind of hard for me to visualize how everything was going to get set up. So I just set it up ahead of time at home so that I could kind of get an idea for what, how everything was going to lay out. And then I just recommend doing that because I think it's really helpful to just see how everything's going to lay out, and then it kind of gives you some other ideas for what you want to do. So this little chalkboard was a kind of a last minute idea. Okay, so what I'm going to do is what I would normally do is go here and then I would weld them together so that they all cut together. But first I'm going to do the other, I'm going to put my eat cake together because I'm kind of want to design it so that the and is, I think, a little bit bigger and kind of within the middle of the text, if that makes sense. Let me go ahead and hit ungroup on this, and I'm going to do that same thing. Let's swim and eat cake. And it is the middle of January here, so not only do our kids love to swim, but it is the perfect time of year to go to the pool. Take a break from winter. Okay, cute. Oh, I love how this looks. Okay, so, and this font is from Font Bundles. Okay, so I am going to just kind of play around here with how I want this to look. Sometimes it kind of takes, sometimes the design takes me longer than the craft. I don't know if you guys are like that as well. How do I want to do this? I'm gonna just try a couple different things to see what my eye likes. Okay guys, this was the final design I came up with. Instead of the and sign, I decided to go with the plus. So same font and everything, I just added a plus sign instead. It was kind of fitting within the space a little bit better. And I just kind of fast forwarded there a bit because I can be so indecisive that you guys don't want to see me go back and forth and back and forth. So this is what I decided on. What I'm going to do next is I am going to, before I do this, what would happen is if I just went ahead and hit make it, all of my letters would just be haphazard all over the mat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I am going to weld this entire thing together. Weld, weld, weld right down here. And that makes this all one image. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, let me go ahead and put this as white. That way it's easier when you see it here. And let's go ahead and make this bigger again. And I am just going to size it now on my little guide that I created. And usually I stay within my little boundaries and add a lot of blank space behind here, but I know that I sized this down and sized it small, so I'm okay with going a tad bit bigger here. Oh no. Back. Okay, I was trying to size it and hit the... Okay, so what I can do is behind the scenes, you guys can't see my other camera, but I am just going to measure 6 inches by 3 1/4 and just see visually how that's gonna look. 6 inches. I'm measuring my sign. That's gonna be awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go, let me double check. 6, yes, by 3 1/4. I think that's gonna be awesome. Yep. Final answer. Okay, so the final thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back here to this guide. I'm gonna hit hide by just clicking this little eyeball button, and that is going to just make it so the only thing that the Cricut's gonna cut out is this beautiful text that we've created. I'm gonna go hit make it, and it's going to place it on my white mat. or my white vinyl. So I'm going to hit continue and it's going to find my Cricut. My poor Cricut has been just worked and worked for this birthday party, but it's been so fun. I think crafting is super relaxing, so it's been like fun stress, if that makes sense. I'm going to hit vinyl and use default pressure, and I am going to go ahead and get this cut.
Okay, so I went ahead and had that cut out my vinyl for us. And again, this is the 631 matte Oracle vinyl. Again, I'm going to use a removable vinyl for this project because I don't want to have my little chalkboard sign say, "Let's swim and eat cake forever and ever, amen." So I'm just going to go ahead and get this all prepped with some rubbing alcohol and a little cotton swab, just to make sure that any little dirt and grime that probably it has come in contact with is off. So the surface is nice and prepped for the vinyl, which will help it just stick better. Okay. Now, before I forget, this is from Hobby Lobby. Isn't it beautiful? It's in the home decor section. It was $24.99. I did either use a 40% off coupon or it was either on sale. I think it might have just been on sale, but anyway, at 40% off. And it's so pretty. Don't you love it? I love it. Okay, so like I said, this is already printed out. You can do permanent vinyl if that's your choice, so that is totally fine. Again, just make sure it is the matte, because I think the matte look just looks really pretty and polished and like paint when it's completely done as your final project when it comes to chalkboards. Okay. So flipping that over just to remove it is going to just help keep our vinyl intact. It looks really nice. I think we sized it perfectly. I think that little hint of measuring the innermost parts of the little scallops was smart. Because actually when I bought it, I was kind of wondering, how am I going to size my letters appropriately for this? I was a little bit nervous that I was going to mess it up, but I think that is going to be good. Let's not say that just yet. We don't want to jinx it, but okay. But we can cheat and just kind of look here. Oh yeah, it's going to be awesome. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really quickly scrape the back of the vinyl just to make sure everything is all laid down and ready to be weeded. This is the Cricut weeding tool. It is my favorite tool, and I use it to weed all my vinyl. So just use a weeding tool of your choice, whatever you are most comfortable with. Starting in a corner, you're just going to peel up, and then I like to remove all of the surrounding areas first. That's just kind of how my mind works, I guess. And going really careful. There's a lot of curves and sudden changes of direction. Now what we're going to do is go through and weed out all the middles. So that's any letter that has some kind of middle in it, like the E's, L's, and then in this case, the S has a little bit of curve and middle to it. This W. The fun thing about script font is that you'll find a lot of different designs. So normally you wouldn't have to weed out a W, but it like swoops and is so beautiful. So make sure that you just take your time and really look, because some of the non-obvious letters might have a middle to weed out. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to really quickly check and make sure all of the middles are out. Looks like they are. Okay, and I'm going to grab my transfer tape. This is Expressions transfer tape. And it's going to work that way. Okay, so I'm just going to snip this small little piece off, and I will save it for another project, because I'm going to do a tinier project after this that will need this. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay this down over my vinyl, just like this, and then I can go ahead and trim off the vinyl that I'm not using. or I'm sorry, the transfer tape that I'm not using, pardon me. Perfect. Okay. Now there's a little tiny piece of vinyl that didn't get transfer tape laid on top, but that's completely fine. I like to save material where I can, just to save it, because I like to craft a lot, so it's nice to use any and every little bit that I can. Okay, just really getting that transfer tape onto the vinyl so that I can pull it up off of this carrier sheet really nicely, which it looks like it's going to do beautifully. I love Oracle vinyl. It's just a dream to work with. It's definitely my favorite. Okay, the last thing I'm going to do is I am just going to go ahead and trim really closely to the letters here and remove any extra transfer tape, because it'll just help me when it's time to center it on my chalkboard. I think less is just more here. It really will help. Okay, and since this has a little base that's going to make it a little tricky, I'm just going to put the base off of my table a little bit. I know that's off camera, but that's what I'm doing just to keep this a little bit more flat on the board, on the table. Oh, I think that's going to be perfect. I love it. And I think that, let me hold it up to myself really quick. I'm going with it. Okay. So I'm just going to press in the center and then press outwards. And then take my scraper tool and press even more. Just get those letters down. Okay. And I like to use my scraper tool just to kind of peel up an edge of my transfer tape. And the final reveal. There we go. Okay, I think it looks great. I'm loving it. This is very fun, especially for a very last minute party idea. Okay, and I really, really think that measuring those inner parts is going to really be your saving grace for sizing a text to fit within a non-traditional shape. So what do you guys think? I think it turned out really sweet, and especially for something that is just last minute and wasn't supposed to happen, and I think it's just going to be a really cute little addition. Plus, it's amazing because then once the party's over, I can just take this off and I can put something else on it. Alright guys, make sure you give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and then be sure to subscribe because I have huge, huge, huge projects coming up that you're really going to love.